Appendix 1, Nutrition. There are some foods that it is advisable to include in the diet so that during the transition the diet is effective and promotes regeneration. Vitamin rescue. In winter and spring, the body is deficient in vitamins and other nutrients. If you make up for this deficiency, your vitality will increase significantly. But how to do this in the absence of seasonal vegetables, fruits, and berries? Greenhouse ones are of little use, and in general, you should not count on what is sold in the supermarket. All this is unnatural and incomplete. But seaweed is available all year round. This is the only full-fledged and relatively clean product, taking into account the totally polluted environment, depleted soil, and chemistry in agriculture. For example, have you ever thought about why record wheat harvests are harvested in Russia? Fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. This is where the power lies. From this we can conclude what all store-bought baked goods are. You need to look for organic grain yourself. It's also available, and bake your own bread. Well, who does not have such an opportunity or desire? Baking in the diet should be somehow limited, but in order to not face a deficiency of B vitamins, you need to pay special attention to seaweed. The best choice is seaweed, kelp. It supplies the body with a full set of vitamins, minerals, micro and macro elements. It corrects breakdowns in the body, removes toxins and heavy metals, adjusts cholesterol levels, protects against cancer, regulates the general energy of the body, improves the functioning of all muscles, including the heart, renews the blood, enriches with oxygen, activates the intestines, and normalizes microflora. The only question is how to use it. Seaweed salad, which is sold ready-made, is an acceptable choice if without chemical additives. However, during heat treatment, many nutrients are lost. Therefore, it's better to cook yourself by soaking dried kelp. The one that's usually sold as cut shavings, you will soon get bored. It's not particularly tasty, and there's not a whole lot of pleasure. It is not fun to somehow force yourself with such food. The best option is kelp of the kombu or kelp varieties. These are large leaves, dried in their natural form in the open air. It's a lot tastier and healthier. If you quickly soak it for 1 to 3 minutes, you could take it and chew it just like that. Just a few leaves. And you'll feel satiated, like from a good dinner. The body is light, and you don't want to eat anymore because it got the maximum of what you need. Another option is to finely grind it in a coffee grinder and use it as salt and seasoning. For example, a teaspoon with a top in soup or porridge. So you put a teaspoon on top of your soup or porridge. This is better absorbed and can be introduced into a habit. It does not bother much if you don't want to chew seaweed. High quality kelp of these varieties is produced in Japan, but the price is quite high. In Russia, there is an alternative of their domestic seaweed plant. He's not advertising it, he's informing. Adaptogen. Sea urchin caviar is a powerful adaptogen like ginseng. What's an adaptogen? It's a general tonic that increases the body's resistance to adverse environmental conditions. That is, it's both stimulation and immunity. The Japanese devour this sea delicacy greedily, in large quantities as far as their financial capabilities allow. Although in fact it's not particularly tasty and quite expensive. Then why? This is not the philosophy of the notorious healthy lifestyle, but of quality life. When in a very unhealthy man-made environment, you choose not just a healthy diet, but a diet of superfood, which significantly raises vitality. There are certain species of living creatures on Earth that do not age. Sea urchins are among them. They die only because someone eats them or because of other external influences. Therefore, these seafood are worthy of special attention. The edible part of the sea urchin is only called the caviar, although it's not caviar at all, but an organ of reproduction. But it was called that, so we're going to list the properties. Slows down aging, boosts immunity, powerful antioxidant, male and female power, stimulates hemoptosis, removes toxins, radionucleotides, increases physical and mental abilities, high nutritional value, and it has a record for vitamin B12 content. iodine, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, magnesium, and omega-3s, and it is the richest set of trace elements and amino acids. In general, it's a superfood. It can be found fresh or frozen in some stores and restaurants, as well as in the form of dietary supplements. You do not need to cook. Eat it raw with the lemon juice. If you buy it as a dietary supplement, you need to monitor the composition so it is a 100% product. For example, lipolyzed. Smart Healer. This is turmeric, an orange root similar to ginger. Most often it's used in powdered form as a seasoning. The active substance contained in the root is curcumin. It's shown its properties best together with black pepper. Some reports say black pepper makes it 50 times more bioavailable. There's a whole lot of useful properties. Choleretic, detoxifies, improves digestion, restores liver, wide range of antioxidants. Antiparasitic and anti-Alzheimer's, thins the blood, lowers blood pressure and sugar, accelerates metabolism, burns excess fat, has a beneficial effect on the cardiovascular system, restores hormonal balance in men and women, antifungal, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer. In addition to all of this, it improves the condition of the skin. It helps to rehabilitate after serious illness, strengthens the whole body, it warms and cleanses the blood, it copes with many diseases better than antibiotics. In general, turmeric works like a smart healer. It finds problems in the body and solves them. In addition, it's extremely good for the brain. It normalizes cerebral blood circulation, cognitive abilities increase. The most effective remedy is turmeric juice. If desired, you can find it on the internet. Dilute a tablespoon of pure juice in 50 grams of water. Drink it in the morning and evening before meals. It normalizes the outflow of bile. That means the condition of the GI tract will improve and the body will be cleansed, since bile is both a digestive and drainage fluid. If you carry out such a course of 50 days, that's 1.5 liters of juice, the body will be cleansed and the blood test will improve significantly. Indians use it as a seasoning into many dishes. No wonder India is developing so actively and has already overtaken China in terms of population. However, the taste of turmeric is specific and can be unpleasant without being habituated to it. But you can get used to it, or take curcumin as a supplement with black pepper or piperine. There's also some contraindications since the remedy is strong. For example, with cholecystitis, in this case, it's necessary to reduce the dose. It also does contain COX-1,2 inhibitor. So using it with aspirin, Advil, naproxen, etc., any other COX-1,2 inhibitor, be aware you're getting a higher dose of that active substance. Transurfer food. This is pumpkin. There are vegetables that are too healthy and they are just terribly, terribly healthy to the extent you want to say excessive consumption ... If you set out to find out what the harm of certain vegetables and fruit is, the internet will be happy to tell you, and it will even give you a long list of harmful properties along with useful ones. And that's where it will no longer be clear what outweighs. This is such an interesting game. But we will not engage in this nonsense, but consider the value of the pumpkin. The fact that it is a terribly useful food is not a joke. The beta-carotene is much higher than in carrots. L-arginine and zinc visibly increase male strength. For women too, beauty, health, and youth. Improves the condition of the cardiovascular system. It is very beneficial on the liver. Sunflower seeds are antiparasitic and a rich source of magnesium, and I presume that he meant pumpkin seeds. Prevention of oncological diseases. Starch-free, an ideal vegetable in diabetics. Cleanses the body and improves digestion. The pulp contains a lot of potassium and the seeds contain vitamin E. General beneficial effect on the whole body. In addition, it balances the nervous system, improves sleep, copes with stress and depression, and increases attention. The food of transurfers. You can use it in the form of carrot and pumpkin juice, baked with porridge. Seeds, not fried in small quantities, are also very useful. You need to choose a pumpkin that's brilliantly orange. Such a pumpkin has everything in abundance. The simplest and healthiest recipe: take a large, ripe pumpkin, remove the core along with the seeds, load it, namely the core, into a powerful blender, add water and a few cloves of garlic and red or black pepper for better digestibility. Grind it at high speed. The only drawback: the peel from the seeds is not completely ground. If you don't like it, you can pass it through an auger squeezer. You will get a super healthy dish, cleansing and nourishing. At first, consume a little, 100 grams. The healthiest berry. This is the blueberry, not only the large garden blueberry that are sold in supermarkets, but forest blueberries. A distinctive feature is that blueberries are both the strongest antioxidant and the richest source of vitamins and minerals. In this regard, they're even superior to regular blueberries. What does it do? Lowers blood pressure and prevents heart attacks, removal of toxins, radionucleotides, prevention of oncological and heart disease, improve the function of the brain and nervous system, prevention of diabetes and Alzheimer's, strengthening of blood vessels, and it's good for the blood, slowing down the aging process, strengthening the skeletal system, improved eye health, and improved immunity. This means this is going to help prevent many diseases. What does this prevention mean? It means you will not get sick if blueberries are present in your diet. Therefore, you need to hunt for this berry when they start selling it in the markets, eat it fresh, and freeze it for winter, or buy it frozen. The daily norm is 150 to 200 grams. If you chew blueberries regularly while they are being harvested, you get rid of stones on your teeth. And you do not need to go to the dentist. It is undesirable to eat directly on an empty stomach, as it can irritate the gastrointestinal tract. The healing properties of blueberries are largely scientifically proven. This berry has been studied, so it is grown and sold everywhere. Garden blueberries, of course, are also kinds of useful. However, preference should be given to forest, natural. Blueberries are the second most valuable and useful forest berry. Walnut King. Let's continue the topic of effective nutrition. It would be a good idea to eat 1 or 2 nuts a day, for example, walnuts. I don't think it's worth it anymore because nuts are still a heavy food, but it's good for brain health. Is there a nut that's worth eating every day, and maybe not even 1 or 2, but 3 or 5? There is. Macadamia is the king among nuts. It's valued for the optimal composition of monounsaturated fatty acids, exquisite creamy chocolate taste, and a confectionery smell. Probably the rarest, most expensive, and most delicious nut. It has a unique range of useful properties. It strengthens the cardiovascular system, rejuvenates the skin at the cellular level, strengthens bone and cartilage tissue. It improves cognitive abilities, stimulates the nervous system, improves blood circulation, and increases hemoglobin. A distinctive feature of macadamia that can be considered in a high content of phosphorus, manganese, and silicon. That means with regular use, your bones, hair, and teeth will be filled with health and strength. Macadamia contains another unique element, palmitoleic acid. It protects brain cells from degenerative process. In other words, dementia or Alzheimer's do not threaten you. Food of centenarians. This is the focus, king algae. It deserves special attention since in terms of the content of vitamin and minerals, it surpasses kelp and other seaweed. What does this miracle food give? First of all, it is an adaptogen. It increases the body's resistance to adverse environmental conditions. That is, it fights against stress, stimulation, and immunity. It provides the body with a full range of nutrients in a biologically available form. Potassium, magnesium, calcium, iodine, iron, phosphorus, zinc, and so on. Besides that, it prevents atherosclerosis, accelerates cell regeneration, prevents the formation of blood clots, improves metabolism and digestion. It removes toxins and heavy metal salts. It protects against cancer and cardiovascular disease. Nourishment for the brain, heart, and every cell. Fucus in dried form is produced by our domestic seaweed plant, ecologically clean area out of the White Sea. It is available crushed, granulated, and in powder form. Crushed may contain sand. Recipe: combine crushed fucus, onions, garlic, apple cider vinegar, cedar oil, and water. You pour it in a 1/2 liter jar, you grate the onion and You stir with a tablespoon for a minute, put it in the refrigerator. 2 to 3 tablespoons a day before meals. Youthful skin. It's primarily toned skin. When the tone decreases, signs of aging appear. Wrinkles, dry skin, changes in the oval of the face. The basic of elastic, young, and toned skin is 2 substances, elastin and collagen. With age, the amount of these substances in the skin decreases. So you should pay attention to the products that contain them or promote their production in the body. Elastin and collagen are proteins, for the full construct of which the body needs the entire list of amino acids. A purely plant-based raw food diet does not contribute to youthful skin at all. There are adherents to this type of nutrition who rush to extremes with fanatical conviction, but they did not achieve the desired result. For example, Anne Wigmore looked no better than an ordinary old woman by the end of her life. To maintain the right amount of elastin and collagen, the body, as a complex biochemical combine, needs to receive vitamins, macro and microelements, all possible nutrients, especially iron, copper, and zinc. The lack of copper in the body can be made up for by including whole grain cereals, legumes, nuts, eggs, and liver in the diet. Protein is found in large quantities in seafood, but you should not avoid dietary meat. Probably sometimes, for people that it's acceptable. Zinc is found in wheat germ, pumpkin seed oil, and pumpkin seeds. Let's list some useful products that contribute to youthful skin. Bilberry. It has antioxidant properties that protect against cancer, improve brain function, and visual. Vitamins reduce the risk of developing many diseases. Brown unpolished rice. Rice has a positive effect on the nervous, cardiovascular, digestive systems, and mental abilities. It contains a lot of silicon. When the body needs silicon, you'll get tired of listing for almost everything. Bollocks. Good for bones, muscles, and ligaments. The perfect set of amino acids in eggs allows you to quickly restore physical shape after training and physical exertion. Broccoli promotes the removal of salt and water from the body, edema. Prevents cellulite, strengthens the cardiovascular, skeletal, and excretory systems, removes toxins from the body. It's a rejuvenating product. Avocado increases immunity, improves the function of the heart and circulatory system, and prevents the occurrence of tumors. Calcium and phosphorus strengthen bones. Beans. It promotes rapid recovery from disease. It's recommended for hypertension and disorders of the gastrointestinal tract. Walnuts. Iodine, potassium, and magnesium. They improve mental activity, have a beneficial effect on the entire body as a whole, normalize the circulatory, cardiovascular, and immune system. Wild redfish contains everything you need for skin elasticity, healthy nails and hair, and it saturates the body with protein and fatty acids and contributes to the normal functioning of the brain. It strengthens the musculoskeletal system. Beet. Folic acid is a vitamin of beauty and youth. It improves the functioning of the heart, blood vessels, and it restores the nervous system and removes pathogens from the intestines. Sprouted oats. Charges the body with energy and vigor for the whole day. Calcium, phosphorus, silicon have a positive effect on hair, nails, skin, and bones. Normalizes metabolism. How to cook it is in the book Clean Nutrition. Seaweed is a record holder for the content of various vitamins, iodine, calcium, and magnesium. It repairs the body. Dark chocolate. A large amount of micro and macronutrients, antioxidants. 20 to 30 grams a day reduces the risk of cancer, increases mental abilities, and increases happiness. Young olive oil. That may be virgin olive oil. Eating instead of heavy fats, especially those of animal origins, slows down the aging process, at least like that. Whole grain yeast-free bread, especially rye or barley. A full set of B vitamins necessary for the normal functioning of the brain and digestive system, promotes weight loss. We've already said that for a purely plant-based raw food diet, it's not going to guarantee eternal youth. For a while, yes, the results can be impressive. It is enough to look at the photos of famous raw foodists before and after. But then normal degradation begins. When this later will be is different for everyone. It depends on individual qualities. The fact is that fanatical raw foodists sooner or later quite usually age and die. For example, if someone is inspired by the blooming and even athletic appearance of fruitarians, you should still not flatter yourself. This is a temporary phenomenon. What happens to them after 50 or 60, they do not advertise. There are, of course, happy exceptions, but again, these are just rare exceptions. And on the contrary, there is much more evidence of health problems among those who rush to extremes. Our body, as a complex biochemical plant, must receive all the necessary reagents for stable operation. One of these reagents is collagen, the most basic protein, which consists of 70% of skin and connective tissue, 60% of gums and cartilage, 50% of blood vessels, and 27% of bone tissue. The condition of the skin mainly depends on it. With a deficiency, it quickly ages and is covered with wrinkles. Collagen is produced by the body, but less and less with age. So it's after 50 or maybe 60, you should introduce products containing collagen compounds into the diet. Where to get them? Medicine claims there is no collagen in plant food. At the same time, the body does not absorb the collagen coming with food as it is, but breaks it down into amino acids to create its own endogenous ones. So amino acids can also be obtained from plants, especially greens. The only question is there everything necessary and in sufficient quantities? No one will answer this question unequivocally, since there are still no clear and thorough studies on the topic. Adherents of one or the other type of nutrition will not answer either, although they will answer, of course, that you need to eat more meat broths and jellied meats, and on the contrary, not, because we are herbivores and should eat exclusively plants. So then why do old women who look like they've rummaged through the seeds in the market not look like they're blooming at all? And why do raw foodists have all the same wrinkles? Because the truth, as always, is not in the extremes, but somewhere in the middle. Probably in plant food, but there are not enough amino acids for collagen synthesis. This means the diet should be varied and balanced so the body receives both the building materials for collagen and the substances that stimulate the synthesis. The latter include products of plant origin, especially green leafy vegetables, garlic, broccoli, citrus fruits, berries, tomatoes, nuts, legumes, seaweed, avocado, spirulina, and chlorella. But in any case, all plants should be consumed in maximum variety and in live form. Do not expect for some individual products to contain everything you need. Fermented, pickled vegetables, as well as sprouts, live and fermented, deserve special attention. Why fermented? Because they're better absorbed, and they are prebiotics and probiotics. They cleanse the body and form a healthy microflora. Why sprouts? Because we can say everything about what they contain. If not everything, then a lot. What we call effective nutrition is based on these principles. For more details, see the books Clean Nutrition and Ancestral Cuisine. Building materials include all seafood, quail, and chicken eggs, or mushrooms. Of the seafood, the most valuable are mussels, oysters, cod, and wild red fish. And in the sea fish, the most valuable thing is its skin. It has more collagen than anything else in the world. We do not consider meat dishes, since meat still ages more than somehow rejuvenates, not to mention the environmental friendliness. But for those who are still young and for whom it's acceptable, dietary rabbit meat can be recommended. The fact that rabbits can be fed with anything, they simply do not survive on mixed feeds, hormones, and antibiotics. You can also consider collagen in the form of supplements, sometimes in courses, but you should choose only a premium quality product that's environmentally friendly and better absorbed. Taurine. Recent scientific studies have identified another substance along with collagen, the deficiency of which is one of the causes of rapid aging. And the intake of the right amount contributes to rejuvenation and longevity. Taurine is a conditionally essential amino acid. That means the body can produce it, but in a limited amount. And as we get older, there's less and less produced, so we have to replenish the amount with food or supplement. Taurine is a strong antioxidant and adaptogen. It participates in the process of energy exchange. It supports cell membrane function. It normalizes blood pressure, and it protects the liver from damage. It regulates carbohydrate and fat metabolism. It participates in regeneration processes, and it prevents oncology and atherosclerosis. It has a beneficial effect on the nervous system. Deficiency of taurine leads to diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, inflammation, liver disease, and rapid aging. Restoration of taurine concentration in the blood goes to the juvenile level, so it helps cells stay younger. It increases life expectancy, contributes to the overall rejuvenation of the body. It improves coordination and cognitive function. It increases performance, endurance, and immunity. It improves the condition of the brain, muscles, and bones, and it improves the nervous system function and sleep quality. Taurine reduces stem cell depletion, shortening of telomere length, and mitochondrial damage. So those three things are basically saying taurine is reversing cellular aging. The substance is generally safe and has no serious side effects. Physical activity stimulates the production of taurine in the body, but with age, you should pay special attention to products that contain it, or even take it as a supplement. Taurine in the largest amount is found in shrimp, squid, scallop, mussel, oysters, and crabs, cod, redfish, tuna, sardines, and sea bass, seaweed, chlorella, spirulina, eggs, and cheese. In smaller quantities, avocado, banana, pears, potatoes, and spinach, nuts, legume, buckwheat, and oats, and chocolate. Accurate data on the content and daily intake, let's say, are sometimes contradictory. In general, look at the daily intake of all vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. It becomes clear that it is simply impossible to eat so much. So everyone decides for themselves intuitively whether it is necessary to take additional supplements. Coenzyme Q10. Another important nutritional component for maintaining health and slowing aging is CoQ10. Coenzyme means a catalyst needed for the work of the other enzymes. The body's production of Q10 decreases with age. It is also seriously impacted by taking the cholesterol medications in the class of statins that interferes with the liver pathway. It's the same story as with taurine and collagen. All three components are necessary for youth and health, but the further you go, the fewer they become, which means that the aging process of the body goes at an increased pace. Therefore, the lack of CoQ10 also needs to be made up somehow. The main function of this component is to produce adenosine triphosphate, ATP. That's the energy carrier for all living things. CoQ10 is necessary for the normal functioning of the heart, liver, and kidneys, neutralizes free radicals, it slows down aging, it improves the body's oxygen saturation, and provides energy metabolism. Deficiency leads to muscle weakness, heart failure, mental retardation, cardiovascular disease, and disorders of the central nervous system. Increasing the level enhances heart function, improves mitochondrial function, reduces the risk of cancer, stimulates the cognitive function of the brain, reduces fatigue, increases endurance, and has a beneficial effect on the entire cardiovascular system. Who needs CoQ10? Anyone who wants to preserve youth, who wants to lead an active lifestyle, and who wants to take care of the health of the heart and blood vessels, and anyone that's taking statins of any kind should consider it. Foods containing CoQ10: redfish, tuna, herring, mackerel, sardines, sesame, nuts, and legumes. It's also found in cauliflower, broccoli, currants, orange apples, eggs, and cheese. Adequate intake of CoQ10 has a positive effect on overall health. To improve the quality of life, it may be worth considering taking CoQ10 in the form of dietary supplements after the age of 30. It's produced in two forms, ubiquinone and ubiquinol. The latter is better absorbed. If you take supplements, it's preferable to choose premium quality products. Medicine and advertising are irreconcilable opponents of dietary supplements. The reason is clear. They need to promote medicines, treat disease, and make money. Dietary supplements do not fit into the business of this. They rather prevent disease and reduce the risk of medications. However, it must be understood that supplements cannot serve as a substitute for a proper diet. Resveratrol. As you know, the result of oxidative processes in the body, free radicals, vampire molecules devoid of an electron, appear, which weaken and destroy cells, increasing the risk of various diseases, accelerating aging, and can even lead to mutations in DNA. Antioxidants are substances that can neutralize the effect of free radicals and thereby reduce the harm from them. Resveratrol is the king of antioxidants. What's it doing? Neutralize the effect of free radicals, reduces the risk of various disease, increased vitality, promotes active longevity, stimulates enzyme synthesis, Helps fight various inflammations, prevents dementia and Alzheimer's, lowers blood sugar, has a beneficial effect on the liver, and prevents against cancer. Promotes muscle growth and bone density, strengthens the cardiovascular system, and increases cognitive ability. Studies of its other properties are still ongoing. Which products have it? Black grapes, dark chocolate, wild berries, and soybeans. However, the content of resveratrol in foods is extremely low to have any tangible effect on health. For example, there's an opinion that red wine supposedly prolongs life. In fact, a liter of red wine contains from 0.05 to a few milligrams of resveratrol, and the average daily norm is considered to be 100 to 150 milligrams. This one will have to be taken in the form of a supplement by whomever sees fit, premium quality. Dopamine. We've already talked a lot about managing your attitude to reality and your state, but how can you do this if you just feel really bad and you don't want anything? Recent scientific studies have shown the disease of notorious virus can cause depression. One of the side effects of the virus is a decrease in dopamine production in brain cells, and it's a long-term one. Whether this is true or not, the fact is many people suffer from incomprehensible depression or apathy. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is produced at the time of receiving pleasant emotions and sensations, or during the period of anticipation of something pleasant. It's also called the hormone of happiness, but it is responsible not only for a good mood. Functions of dopamine: thinking, learning, attention, memory, desire to live and act, stress, normal sleep, and others. The deficiency of dopamine: confusion, irritability, brain fog, red alert, and melancholy. Deficiency could have other consequences: constant apathy and cognitive decline, as well as Parkinson's. That is nothing good. But the matrix needs its elements to be not quite sane and not quite healthy. This is how it works. And in which direction should we act? To begin with, you should pay attention to foods rich in tyrosine, since this amino acid serves as the basis for the production of dopamine. One of the useful ones are oat and wheat sprouts, beets, green vegetables, herbs, spirulina, green peas, green beans, and legumes. Apples, orange, banana, strawberry, avocado, sunflower, pumpkin seed, walnut, almonds, dark chocolate, ginseng, and ginkgo. The last two as an option can be taken in the form of supplements. Ginseng is a powerful adaptogen, and ginkgo improves blood supply to the brain, and its leaves can be brewed together with tea. The only products do not solve everything. The most effective remedy for depression is physical activity in the fresh air, in nature, especially when it's a pleasant activity, for example, cycling or skiing. If this opportunity does not occur often and depression does not recede, then you can consider the option of a dietary supplement, L-tyrosine. The Matrix does not approve of dietary supplements. It has other instructions to the doctor or to the pharmacy. However, dietary supplements are generally harmless if you do not get too carried away. But there's another effective remedy if you remember the conditions under which dopamine is produced. You need to give yourself pleasure more often in various forms: a pleasant pastime, delicious food, hobbies, entertainment, etc. Literally set a goal for yourself. Intentionally seek pleasure, preferably healthy, of course, including in small things. And what if this becomes one of the conditions for survival in the man-made environment? Nutrition for the brain. The brain consumes a quarter of all energy and oxygen. The whole body practically works for the brain and for its support. And if the brain works in such a way that if I feel bad, then we'll all feel bad, if it feels bad, it initiates all kinds of diseases, both in itself and in the whole body. And in general, if the brain feels bad in something, then the person feels bad. This means that the brain should be fed purposely and correctly so that we all feel good. Let's list the foods the brain likes and needs. Wild fish and seafood. This supply many necessary substances for brain function, including omega-3. Coffee. There are myths about the usefulness and harmfulness. We'll do without myths. Coffee stimulates the brain if consumed in moderation and contains antioxidants. Chocolate. Only if it's natural, without chemical additives. In this respect, it will be useful to eat 20 to 30 grams of chocolate per day. It contains the necessary micro and macronutrients and antioxidants. Eggs, especially the yolks, they contain lecithin, on the basis of which the entire nervous and neural link system is built. Seeds, flax, pumpkin, and sunflower. They also contain lecithin, in addition omega-6, and that's necessary for the brain. Nuts, walnuts, macadamia, almond, almost everything can be consumed a little from time to time. Greens, spinach, kale, lettuce, and other greens. They contain antioxidants, including lutein, which is useful not only for eyesight, but it stimulates cognitive function. Black rice. Of course, rice should only be eaten in its shell, unpolished. Black rice contains anthocyanins, antioxidants that stimulate the transmission of nerve impulse. Wild rice. In fact, this is not rice, but water Siscania or tucarosa or Indian rice. It improves cognitive function, vision, reactions, and balance of the nervous system. Wild berries. The antioxidants they contain protect against neurodegenerative disease, vitamins, minerals, and of course, lion's mane. It stimulates the synthesis of new neurons and connections. That is, it promotes brain regeneration. It could be taken as a dietary supplement in powder or capsules. For example, add a teaspoon of powder to a finished dish. Thus, the brain needs building materials, antioxidants, and stimulants. Building materials because the brain is constantly being renewed. And antioxidants are like reducing agents because intensive metabolic processes take place in the brain. Stimulation also does not harm the brain, but it likes it. If not excessive, the brain is the laziest organ, but it's not averse to working if it is cheered on. You just need to know what stimulates. What's stronger than coffee, tea, or chocolate? When you're taking those stimulants, they're too strong and they'll have the opposite effect. Let's continue the list of healthy food for the brain. Cocoa beans. Chocolate has been mentioned, but cocoa beans are chocolate in its most natural form. They contain tryptophan, a building material for the production of serotonin, a neurotransmitter that creates a good mood and increases performance. The highest concentration of nutrients is in the nibs, or the core of the cocoa bean. They slow down the aging process and improve cognitive function. You can grind it in a coffee grinder and add it to green smoothies. Algae. They contain a wide range of vitamins and minerals, and in the greater extent than terrestrial plants. From fresh water, Chlorella spirulina, or from the sea, the most common are kelp, wakame, and fucus. The latter contains everything in the highest concentration. Iodine, in particular, increases cognitive function. Among seafood, it bears repeating the most valuable option is fatty wild marine fish, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acid. Mussels and shrimp boost mood and enhance brain function. Oysters and squid help balance the nervous system. Turmeric contains essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. It helps regulate the nervous system and serves as an excellent preventative measure against dementia. Buckwheat and millet. They contain B vitamins without which the brain cannot function properly. However, your diet should also be diversified with other healthy grains such as rye, oats, and barley. Apples and oranges will help improve cognitive function. Broccoli enhances memory, repairs brain damage, and aids in recovery through its antioxidant properties. Consuming a sufficient amount of clean water is also essential. The list goes on, and every food has its own value. Therefore, the main principle is to have a varied diet with an emphasis on the essentials. Adding cow's milk to coffee and tea is not recommended. It reduces the effect of caffeine and antioxidants. You can replace it with plant-based milks, that would be coconut or sesame. However, adding cocoa butter is a good idea. Cocoa butter contains all the valuable substances found in cocoa beans in high concentration. You can also add butter to coffee or tea if you drink it in the morning or on an empty stomach. This is done to improve bile flow and activate the liver and gallbladder. Bile removes water-insoluble toxins from the body. You can't wash them away with water alone. Toxins are the worst thing for the brain. Conversely, detoxifying the body is the most important task for restoring normal brain function.